Hi friends, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel. It has been a very long time. So today's video is my September TBR, and in September I am participating in Becca's Bookoplathon. So the Bookoplathon is a readathon that Becca created from her TBR game. I forgot the words. So yeah, it's created from her TBR game. Her TBR game is Bookopoly, so she's like made her own Monopoly board with bookish prompts all around, so she lands on a spot and gets prompt. And she started doing it as a readathon as well, and I think she creates a different board for each round of the Bookoplathon, which is dedication. So yeah, it's time for the Bookoplathon again. I will leave her announcement video link down below so you can see everything. But yeah, basically she's made this board, and then if you're participating you just roll your dice, move along. You can roll however many times you want for however many books you want to read. I went with 5. I thought that was a good number considering I am still kind of coming out of a reading slump. So I thought if I stick with 5, hopefully I can get through them all. That did not go to plan. I have already done my rolls, by the way. I'm not going to be doing them on camera. But yeah, you roll the dice, you move the number of spaces, like playing Monopoly. Each spot has a prompt, and then like the chance cards and the community chest cards, I can't remember which way around they are, but one of them you write half of them are books you want to read and half of them books you don't want to read on either the chance or community chest. I think it might be chance. And then on community chest you write your own prompts basically. I will leave Becca's announcement video linked down below so you can see like the board, all of the rules explained more thoroughly and probably making more sense. And I will just go on and tell you what I'm going to be reading. So I wrote them down in my B journal, which I write all my readathon TBRs in. So the first prompt I landed on was buildings. So for that I needed to find something with buildings on the cover, which I found surprisingly hard. But I ended up going with The Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix. It kind of has like some building-y type things there just above this book. I decided that counted because I was struggling. This is a book I've been wanting to read for a very long time. It came out... when did it come out? It came out in 2020, so it's not been out that long I guess, but I've been wanting to read it since it came out. I've always been intrigued by Garth Nix's books. This is the first one of his I've read, or I will read. I'm halfway through it, so it's the first one of his I've ever read, and I'm currently reading it. It's like 9 PM here, I'm a little bit tired. Yeah, I've been wanting to read his books for a while. I've heard really, really good things. A bit of why I've been so intrigued to read his books is because he grew up in the same city that I grew up in, which is Canberra in Australia, and I just feel like no one is ever from Canberra. I have met Garth Nix once and we did talk about Canberra. It was great. I live in England now, by the way. So yeah, that's my first book, and like I said, I'm halfway through it. I started it yesterday. I'm really, really enjoying it so far, like so much more than I thought I would. I'm really pleased. I'm so happy that this is turning out to be so amazing for me. For my next role I landed on published/set between 2000 and 2019. So nice broad range there. I went with published, and the book I chose was published in 2019, so right on the edge. And I went with I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This was one I meant to read many years ago. It's also on my list of books that I wanted to get to this year. So I managed to squeeze a couple of those on, which I'm really happy about. And all I really know about this one is that it's about a teenager, I'm assuming, who comes out to their parents as non-binary and then their parents kick them out. So I feel like it's going to be a very emotional read. Very heavy topic. But I've heard really good things, so I am excited to check this one out. And that second roll was also a double, and when you roll a double you have to add another book, another roll to your TBR. So I only wanted to read 5, but I've ended up with 6. That was my only double, thankfully. My next roll was favourite genre, and my favourite genre is fantasy, so for that I picked Descendant of the Crane by Joan He. This is another one of the books that I put on my list to read this year, so like I say I managed to get a few in, which I'm very happy about. And I don't really know what this one is about. I just heard good things about it when it first came out and I've been wanting to check it out for ages. But I we'll have a look at the synopsis. Princess Hasina of Yan has always been eager to shirk the responsibilities of the crown, dreaming of an unremarkable life. But when her beloved father is found dead, she's thrust into power, suddenly the queen of a surprisingly unstable kingdom. What's more, Hasina believes that her father was murdered, and that the killer is someone close to her. Hasina's court is packed full of dissemblers and deceivers eager to use the king's death for political gain, each as plausibly guilty as the next. Her advisors would like her to blame the neighbouring kingdom of Candia, I think that might be how you say it, whose ruler has been mustering for war. Determined to find her father's actual killer, Hasina does something desperate. She enlists the aid of a soothsayer, a treasonous act punishable by death since magic was outlawed centuries ago. Using the information provided by the sooth and uncertain if she can trust her family, Hasina turns to Akira, a brilliant investigator who's also a convicted criminal with secrets of his own. With the future of Yan at stake, can Hasina find justice for her father, or will the cost be too high? So it sounds like a bit of a murder mystery fantasy, which sounds great because I do like a good murder mystery, and as I said, fantasy is my favourite genre, so I obviously love fantasy. So I'm very keen to check this one out. I'm hoping the audiobook will be good because I've been finding that quite a good way to read lately, is to have the audiobook playing while I read along. It's really been helping me get back into reading. So my next role landed me on the prompt Features a Mystery, and for that one I've gone with 450 from Paddington by Agatha Christie. This is the next Miss Marple book that I'm up to. I was trying to read them all one a month, I think that was like in 2020 or something, and clearly that did not happen. I read half of them and I did not read all of that half in 2020. It's become more spread out than I wanted. Finally going to carry on, hopefully. I always find the Agatha Christie books really quick to get through. Most of them are quite short, they're all under 300 pages. Like this one is 281. So they're always very quick to get through. I tend to find the writing style can be a bit jarring at first because it's not, like it's older, that it's not as modern as I'm used to, but once I get into the flow of it, I just fly through them. They're so quick and easy to read, they're so engaging. Agatha Christie just does an amazing mystery. And I will again read you the synopsis. For an instant, the two trains ran together, side by side. In that frozen moment, Elspeth witnessed a murder. Helplessly, she stared out of her carriage window as a man remorselessly tightened his grip around a woman's throat. The body crumpled. Then the other train drew away. But who, apart from Jane Marple, would take her story seriously? After all, there were no suspects, no other witnesses, and no corpse. So that sounds really interesting, and I don't actually think I've ever read that synopsis, so I'm even more excited to read that now. And I want to finally finish the Miss Marple books as well, and then I will start on the Poirot books. So my next role landed me on Multi-Perspective, and for that I've picked one that I believe is Multi-Perspective, but I've not heard about this book in years, and that is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. So my understanding of this book, from what it was pitched as years ago when it was really popular on BookTube, is that this female character runs away on her wedding day, and she is pursued by the person she's going to marry and by an assassin. And as far as I'm aware, the book is told from those two people's points of view, so the person who's going to marry and the assassin is told from their two points of view, but you don't know which is which until the end, which is what's always intrigued me. But that's why I think it's a multi-perspective as well, so fingers crossed it actually is, because it's one I picked. So this is the first book in the Remnant Chronicles. I have all three. I have had them for absolutely years. Like, it's got to have been at least 6 years by now, and I've never picked them up. So this series, the whole series, is on my list of books that I want to try and read this year, but this series and another series that I'm not mentioning have extra stakes because I've decided if I don't read them this year, I'm just going to get rid of them because I've had them for 6 years or more, haven't picked them up, sometimes forget I even own them, so clearly I can't be that interested in them. I've only held on to this one for so long because I've been really intrigued by the premise, and then I just never get around to it, so I'm going to finally read it this month, find out if I actually like it or not, and then either way it'll be off my TBR, whether it's because I've read it or because I read it anyway and then unhold it, and the rest of the series. And then my last roll, my extra roll for rolling a double, landed me on the prompt randomize your TBR. I did not randomize my entire TBR because I have a lot of books on my TBR. They are not all inputted into Goodreads, and I couldn't be bothered to count them all to find out the exact number. So I just counted up. I have a selection of books that I kind of picked out when I started to get back into reading because they all have audiobooks. So I counted all them up, and I counted up the books that are in my list of books that I want to read this year, and I just randomised that number. And the one that ended up being selected from that process was Blood Scion, I think that's how you say that word, by Deborah Fillet. This is one that the publisher sent to me for review, so thank you very much to Harper 360. I have not read it yet, even though it came out in March. Came out on the 8th of March, so I really need to get to this one. So it was probably a good thing that it was chosen. And this one doesn't really have a proper synopsis on the back because it's the ARC, but it says, following one girl's journey of magic, injustice, power and revenge, this emotionally charged debut from Deborah Fillet, inspired by Yoruba Nigerian mythology, will utterly thrill and capture fans of Children of Blood and Bone and An Ember in the Ashes. I've read both of those books. I enjoyed them both. They weren't my absolute favourites, but I am intrigued to see what I think of this one. This is another one I have the audiobook of, and as it is a review copy, you can definitely expect to see a review of this one from me on my blog, probably towards the end of the month. But I am excited to read this one. It does sound interesting, so I'm glad that this is pushing me to finally get to it. So those are all the books on my Bookoplathon TBR. If I manage to read them all before the month is up and I have time left over, I might do another roll and carry on from where that last roll left off and select another prompt, but we'll see how my reading goes. I am going to York this weekend for 4 days, so don't know how much reading I'll get done there. If you're planning on participating in Becca's Bookoplathon, let me know what you're planning to read. I would love to hear what your reading plans are for the month. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!